Gon' vote. Everybody gon' vote. Everybody gon' vote. Everybody gon' vote. Comrade! Labor right, them a go down, bong. Them a go down, bong. Them a go down. Is that? Margie, him a God picking. No hope their work if you touch Margie. Margie, him a God picking. No hope their work if you touch Margie. We now vote for Labour. Orange we a come out in now. If you love the PNP, who no step out for Marky G. Jamaica just come along with we. People time come, people time come, people time is up.
Only thing that's on my mind is who's gonna run this town tonight.
Yeah, I say that we are. Pledge your allegiance.
Who's gonna run this town tonight?
Yeah, I say that we
We gonna run this town.
Make the trumpets play. Make the trumpets play. And I quote what she said. I want to pay tribute to Minister Phillips and his colleagues for what has been a clear change of course. Making the hard choices and successfully completing 4 reviews. Right? She described the program's success as astonishing, a testament to Jamaica's disciplined and transparent economic management. And you will remember that she chose to come to Jamaica. And in that picture is the most honorable Portia Simpson Miller, Dr. Peter Phillips, and Horace Dyer. Mr. Speaker, it was our commitment to macro-fiscal stability and prudent fiscal management that rescued the economy. The structural and fiscal reforms we implemented laid the groundwork for the positive macro stability we now enjoy. We birthed the economic stability that the JLP's botched attempt at it in 2019. We are committed to that macro-fiscal stability in 2025. And we will ensure that we entrench it so that no government can play with something that is as important as this. So that this forms the basis, the foundation for high and sustained economic growth. Mr. Speaker, to be honest, I never planned to go through this. But when I heard the history lesson on Tuesday from the minister, I said, we have to set the record straight. You can't, if you're going to give a history lesson, then be fulsome with the history lesson. I am not going to stand up here and pretend that every time we have been at the wicket has been great. None of us can. You can't, we can't. But if we're going to give the history lesson, give it fully and completely. Not partially. Mr. Speaker, I now want to look at the current government's track record on economic growth. Despite the posturing of having the strongest economic fundamentals in history. When they came to office in 2016, they promised sweeping prosperity. But now you have to ask prosperity for who? Who are the beneficiaries of that prosperity? It can't be prosperity for only a well-connected few. But make no mistake about it, Mr. Speaker, for the majority of Jamaicans, life remains a struggle. Life remains a struggle. Many people are just struggling to make their ends meet. What this government has neglected to tell the people is that prosperity doesn't come out of thin air. It's a result of strong, sustained economic growth. Growth is what allows a government to create the conditions for prosperity. Higher economic growth means higher salaries. You can afford the lifestyle that you want. More revenues allows the government to invest in roads, hospitals, the healthcare system, so that we can improve the quality of life. Now, Mr. Speaker, the government likes to position their economic record on the basis that growth has only been interrupted by external conditions, namely COVID and the shocks of hurricanes. Right? Now, Madam Speaker, I'll ask you to look at the data from 2016 to 2019. This was a period where they promised 5%, the 5 in 4, the famous 5% growth in 4 years. And let's look at the data. It's not my data, it's starting data. In 2016, growth was 1.5%. In 2017, it was 0.7%. 0.7%. In 2018, 1.8%. And 2019, before COVID, it had fallen to 1%. This is before COVID. So if you average the 4 years, you're talking about growth of about 1.2%, less than 2% growth. And they had actually promised 5 in 4 growth. Now let's look at what happened during the COVID pandemic. We had a very steep fall of about a 10% fall. And quite frankly, we had a very strong recovery. We had what I would consider a V-shaped recovery. So we fell by 10% in 2020, strong recovery in 2021, strong recovery in 2022, and 2023. But what we saw, Mr. Speaker, is that having recovered from the steep fall, we have now gone back to the low growth that we have had. So the projection for 2024 is that we're going to have negative growth of just under 1%, 0.9 of 1%. But, Mr. Speaker, it's important for us to look at the growth data leading up to Hurricane Beryl. Because, again, the narrative that is being, the false narrative is that it's only because of Beryl why we ended up with that economic growth. So let's look at the quarters leading up to, let's look at the quarters leading up. You will, if you look at the data starting on that side of the chart in 2022, that continued to reflect the recovery from COVID. So there is 6.5%, 4.8, 5.8, 3.8, 4.1. And then we come down to 2.5 and then 2.3. And then we come down again to 1.6, 1.2. And then immediately before Beryl hit, we were at 0.3, 0.3 of 1% before Beryl hit. So you will see that while we enjoyed positive growth, meaning it was negative, there has been a steady deceleration of growth leading up to COVID. Leading up to Beryl, sorry. So we're not talking about any external factors here up to this point. There was no shock. We're just seeing a steady deceleration of growth, Mr. Speaker. So it is important to note that Jamaica was one of among the very few Caribbean countries that, even though affected by Beryl, that did not register positive growth after Beryl. And so Beryl can't just be the sole explanation for why our growth rates have remained so anemic, when other countries within the region who were also affected have been able to respond and grow. The government has had 9 years in office with record high tax revenues, macro fiscal stability, but yet still they have failed to make the necessary meaningful investments to create a new economic model to spur growth. And where has that left us? We have had 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth in the last half of 2024. The accepted international definition of a recession. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to take the Parliament's time debating whether it's a recession or not. Because you know why, Mr. Speaker? The reality is that They're not in touch with reality. It is a reality. If the Minister of Finance can say $2,000 per month for 3 years can make you pay down on a pro box, it means they don't understand what is going on in the country. They don't understand. So I'm not going to debate this. Right? Internationally, it is known that 2 quarters lead to a recession. But there are different types of recessions. Your economic fundamentals can be strong and you have a recession. You can have a V-shaped recession, which is what the fall in COVID was, a V-shape. Quick fall, quick recovery. You have a U where you fall, take a little longer, and then you recover. You have a L where there are some countries in Europe fall and them still a struggle. But it doesn't mean that because you have good fundamentals, you can't be in a recession. And on my definition, and I may make it up, but I'm not going to tell in the parliament here, because the reality, Mr. Speaker, is that the people are feeling it themselves. The people understand what their daily reality is. So whether you want to call it that or not, they are living that experience, Mr. Speaker.
Today I want to talk to you about the importance of getting enumerated. Now, imagine looking around your constituency, your community, and identifying things that you want changed, but you don't have a say in making those changes. If you get registered to vote today or before March 31st, you'll become eligible to vote by May 31st. So I want to implore you to get on the voters list, get registered so that you can have a meaningful say in the changes that are effected in your constituency.
Jamaica, time coming up. Time come, the date has finally announced. Everybody come vote for Mark Golden. Because for your fist, wave your hand. Because walk around district and
in solidarity with your leader, Comrade Mark. Time come. Time come. Time come for the PNP.
May I practice my ex? Because I want to make sure say my part don't spoil this election day. Long time them labor right there for gone, you know. Them two uncaring, man. Make sure say my mark the ex right there, so. Because I don't want the ballot spoil. See that ex, yeah? For the teacher, them want to get them pay. You see that ex, yeah? And for the people them want dead pan hospital bench because they never have no bed. You see that ex, yeah? And for the police them want work overtime and can't get them overtime pay. Yeah, man. See that ex, yeah? And for the big salary what the politician them give themselves and I can't give little salary to the people them. That ex right now, yeah. For the nurse them. The nurse them. Or if you work long hours and can't get no pay if you go a foreign to try to survive. You see, oh man, that ex, yeah? This is because that time they take the bulldozer and mash up the house them out of Clifton. You see that ex, yeah? And the arrogance and the dictatorship where they try to run the country under. You see one there right there, so I feel all of the disrespect what they want to come give Jamaican. I make sure I say me mark my ex properly. Time come for a change. Time come for a better Jamaica.